Okay, getting the message that it's being live streamed. Meeting is now live streaming on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, getting the message.
Got it. Good evening, and welcome to the Writers Guild Spoken Word Series. My name is Tony Brewer. I'll be your host this evening. I'm treasurer of the Writers Guild at Bloomington, and along with Joan Hawkins and Kyle Quass, I'm co-producer of this series, which is sponsored in part by the Indiana Arts Commission, the Bloomington Arts Commission, and the Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association. I wanted to mention that the Writers Guild at Bloomington wishes to acknowledge and honor the indigenous communities native to this region and recognize that Indiana University and the city of Bloomington were built on indigenous homelands and resources. We recognize the Miami, Delaware, Potawatomi, and Shawnee people as past, present, and future caretakers of this land. Before we get to our feature performers this evening, I had a couple of announcements. Third Sunday Write is currently a virtual place to find writing prompts and the company of other writers. Members visit a private Facebook page to respond to prompts that are posted monthly. You can write and post anytime during the month and offer a response to others' writing by sharing a readback line. That's a line from their piece in the comments. Third Sunday, let's see, we used to meet in the Monroe County Library, and we may get back to that, but we're continuing virtually for the foreseeable future. For more information or to join the group, contact Shana Ritter, who's here with us this evening, at shana747@gmail.com. Please include Third Sunday in your subject line. Also wanted to mention that the Riser Scholarship is now open to Writers Guild members. The Writers Guild at Bloomington is offering the Riser Scholarship to Writers Guild members who would like to attend a writing workshop or conference in 2022. For example, the IU Writers Conference here in Bloomington, or a gathering of writers put on by the the Indiana Writers Center in Indianapolis. The scholarship covers costs up to $350. You can also attend you can also attend a virtual workshop or event. If you have any questions or to receive an application, contact Patsy Ron at Riser Award, that's RYSER Award at writersguildbloomington.com. Deadline to apply is November 30th, 2021. The Riser Scholarship is named for Joan Riser, an English teacher who taught at Bloomington High School South for many years. Before she passed away, she instructed her children to direct memorial contributions to a local program to encourage writers, and the Writers Guild was honored to be the recipient. We created an ongoing scholarship to help writers attend a workshop or conference, and each year we offer this award to either an English teacher or junior or high school student, or a member of the Writers Guild at Bloomington. Again, the deadline for that is November 30th. A couple of other things. Our monthly business meeting, I believe, is still going to be on Zoom. Is that right, Joan? Will be Saturday, October 23rd at 3 p.m. Via Zoom. Also, last Sunday, poetry reading and open mic. This year will be on Halloween, Sunday, October 31st at 11 a.m., live and in person with guest poets James Dorr and Andrew Hubbard, followed by an open mic, and that is at the Monroe County Convention Center. And lastly, the first Sunday prose reading and open mic will be on Sunday, November 7th at 3 p.m. at Morgenstern's, featuring Joe Walker and Ray Zdonik, also featuring an open mic. All of this info is available on our website, which is Writers Guild Bloomington, all one word, writersguildbloomington.com, or you can like or follow us on any of your favorite social mediums, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Or sign up, even better, sign up for our newsletter by visiting our website, writersguildbloomington.com. Thrilled to observe National Hispanic Heritage Month this month with 4 fantastic artists. And I think we'll just get right to it. We'll start off with Brandon Lopez, a little bit of music from Brandon. He is an award-winning New York-based bassist and composer of Puerto Rican descent. He works somewhere between the fringes of jazz, free improvisation, noise, and new music. His music has been praised as virtuoso, brutal, and relentless by publications such as New York Times and Chicago Reader. From the New York Philharmonic's David Geffen Hall to the dingy DIY basements of Brooklyn, Lopez has worked beside many luminaries of jazz, classical, poetry, and experimental music, including John Zorn, Fred Moten, Sun Ra Orchestra, and many others. Would you please welcome Brandon Lopez?
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Fantastic. That was wonderful. Thank you, Brandon. We'll be hearing more from Brandon later on this evening. As I mentioned, we have three fantastic readers this evening: Shana Ritter, Zilia Balkansky-Sellés, and Rosebud Ben-Oni. And I think first up, we will have Shana Ritter. A Pushcart Prize nominee, Shana Ritter has been awarded the Indiana Individual Artist Grant multiple times and has taught poetry and writing workshops in various settings. Her short stories and poems have been published in journals and magazines that include Lilith, Fifth Wednesday, and Georgetown Review. While her mother's journey as an immigrant in the early 1920s provides the underlining narrative of her poetry chapbook, Stairs of Separation from Finishing Line Press in 2012, her novel, In the Time of Leaving, independently published in 2019, is a story of exile and resilience set in 1492 during the Inquisition in Spain. Please welcome Shana Ritter.
Thank you, Tony. Very glad to be here. Thanks to the Writers Guild for the invitation. And I'm glad to be a part of it. On the beach in the north of France, there are days we live as if death were nowhere. Quote from Lee Young Lee, one of my favorite poets. We came to the sea over the cliffs, scrambled down the narrow path that sometimes turned our backs away from the vastness. We reached the sand, left our packs and shoes on the rocks, buried our feet in the warm brokenness of shells. We ran to the water's curving edge. The stark cold couldn't stop us from submerging into the roar. We plunged into wave after wave after wave, our lips glistening with salt even after we found each other. We slept in an old bunker left from another's war, the one we read of often, the one we never knew. All night, the sea pounded. Indulge me for my patch. I had recent eye surgery. I don't usually try to look like a pirate or someone from Blade Runner. I spent many years living in Spain. My spouse is from Spain, and I ended up there for a long time and go back very regularly. All my family is there. And that poem was about the summer we met, but these next few poems are about España. The first time I went to the village, we walked through the plaza. Everyone in the town of Mieza de la Ribera whispered, "There goes Concha's boy with an extranjera." A foreigner was something to remark about in the summer of 1976 at the edge of Spain, cobbled narrow streets, hand-laid rock walls, partitioned. The land was still worked by mules. Sheep bells tumbled up and down the terrazas all the way to the river Duero. Afternoons, after dinner was put away, the women took low-legged chairs out by their doorways into the shade of the narrow stoneways between the stone houses. They sat tatting the thin cotton thread, making doilies or squares that would add up to tablecloths or breadspreads. They chatted up and down the street, their hands moving quick as the swallows that would come in the evening. Men's voices rose from the plaza over cards and sips of coffee or slaps of dominoes against the outside tables. Little ones' whispers came through the windows where they were supposed to be taking siestas. The rest of us, young enough to be restless even in the still heat, found our own nooks of shade hidden from the unrelenting wide sky. El agua del botijo. I will explain what that is. The Castilian midday heat drives everyone inside by two. Blinds pulled closed, the old houses of tile and stone hold what's left of early morning's coolness. Replete, we stir our dark, strong coffee, safe from the light that knows no mercy, cracks ground and rocks, to say nothing of spirits. Pepe shuffles the old deck of cards, and we play the Juego del Antonio. Pesetas pile into mounds by our cups. Even the priest plays, though at first he feigned indifference. The old ones are brutal. Hand after hand, they tally every point, pay up to the last centimo. Don't let a thing slip by. During a pause, we send one of the children for the botijo, the clay jar that was filled at the plaza's well in the still early morning is tucked into the darkest corner of the pantry. The water tastes like earth. Drinking it in the bearing bone-dry late afternoon, I hold dawn. Memory is tossed hand to hand, then lost in evening shadow. Capilera, Spain, 1977. Our house just below the Mirador, high in the Sierra Nevada, in the region called La Alpujarra, caught the shadows of the Mulhacén, the tallest peak. The runoff of snow, a gleam in the curve of the river far below. You, with your jet black hair and Greco face, sang as we worked, etching melodies into frames and silver chains we sold on the Embarcadero in Almuñécar, traveling from the Sierra to the sea, past Bouillon, past Papinera and Lanjarón. In that year, after Franco's death, what had been whispers became song. On the radio, Pablo Guerrero sang of rain and love. Juan Manuel Serrat of the Mediterráneo. Lorca's and Miguel's poems were painted all along the paseos. Libertad, libertad, libertad. Thank you.
Thank you, Shana. That's really wonderful. We'll hear from Shana again as well. Next, we'd like to bring up Zilia Balkansky-Sellés, a poet, freelance writer, and occasional actor and dancer. Zilia Balkansky-Sellés is also the extracurricular coordinator and academic advisor at Hutton Honors College, Indiana University Bloomington, where she earned a PhD in Folklore Studies. Zilia has also co-directed, written, acted in, and composed music for Monroe County Civic Theater productions. Her most recent MCCT role was LaFeu, as well as a troubadour in Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well. Zilia?
Thank you, Tony. The first set is mostly taking its inspiration from ancient Greek mythology and one fairy tale. Helen, after Troy. It was a long time ago. They're all dead or gone somewhere. I don't know. It was not the first time. I had been taken before. First Theseus, then Paris. He was such a boy. Beautiful, maybe. Desire creates beauty in both directions. I knew what it was to be taken, to be a part of the game. The boys and men play, the women work, have babies, grow old, undesirable, but the boys play. The women are gone. Cassandra, fallen. Hecuba, wily, if unsung, gone, long gone. Odysseus, that bastard gets all the glory while Penelope holds fast his lands. It is always so. The bloodied fields before Troy, all washed by time and rain, and new people who will soon forget. The face that launched 1,000 ships. The men jumped at any occasion to play war and sail away. The olive groves shake in the wind of the late winter rains. The sea is dark and full of bones. And this is the Grey or Grace or the Grey sisters from Greek mythology again. Leave it to old men to tell the tales to the young men and women of the Grey sisters, born old, born horrid, with one eye, one tooth among the three of them, toothless 2/3 of the time, unless a sister was generous, blind most of the time, until the precious eye was shared. But what an eye! What vision to hold one steady in the dark until the next turn, enough to fill with light and knowledge the time and space of swaying in the wind, waiting, grasping for a turn, fumbling for the slick, soft orb to roll on the fingertips to pop into place. And that tooth could gnaw right through the toughest meat, the conundrum and quandary of lost heroes, so-called, those fumbling men who could not see the way, who mistook a shared eye for misfortune and a shared tooth for hunger. Rapunzel, and I hope most everybody remembers the tale of Rapunzel. When her supernatural patroness locked her in the high tower, Rapunzel, innocent child of 12, knew nothing, so her powerful stepmother believed, of the world and desire, of longing beyond understanding. But she, Rapunzel, was bred of her birth mother's insatiable hunger for both child and the salacious greens in the Wiccan's garden for which she was named. Rapunzel's hair and beauty, body and soul sprang from her mother's hope and hunger, her father's fear and acquiescence to both wife and witch, and the yearning of the wise one for the graces of the child, the longing for the erased branch of the split in her path, which lay under her drive to knowledge and power, apart from society's pretty ways and social constraints, where beauty was trapped in propriety, demanding the forsaking of ability and command for the security of the well-worn road. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me. Let down the golden strands of power and beauty, longing and possibility, of earth and magic, of what cannot be, but is brought forth with intent, precision, and purpose. The longing locked in the tower, waiting to release the golden strands to freedom and command. The last poem is Cassandra, or the last piece, Cassandra, spelled with a K, which will come up. And for those who don't remember, Cassandra was the princess of Troy who had the gift of prophecy, but the curse of no one believing what she said, which of course is a common lot for many of female identification. Cassandra. At the board meeting, Cassandra felt invisible. Every time she had an idea, a good idea, a really good idea, and spoke up, it seemed nobody heard her. Then one of her male colleagues would repeat what she said, or a close version, usually one of her brat brothers, and get all the credit. Oh, isn't Hector clever? Their father Priam, CEO of their company, would say. Isn't Helenus marvelous? That last attempted takeover Cassandra predicted, who couldn't see it coming if you paid close attention to the charts coming out of marketing research? She, except Hector got the credit, saved the company from a hostile buyout. But this was, insufferable was too careful a word. Can't you see what Sparta is doing? She wanted to throw herself on the broad, polished oak conference table, wailing. She wanted to slap hard her father and mother, she the CFO, and shake her insufferable, there was that word, brothers, who were all spoiling to take on the Spartans. That night, she sold all of her stocks in the family business, transferred the funds to a discreet Swiss bank account, and sublet her apartment in the Dakota on Central Park West. Within the week, she moved to Paris, bought an elegant villa in the south of France with luscious rambling vineyards, and began her own enterprise on the dark web, information exchange, power plays for purchase, Cassandra Prophecies, KP, company slogan, believe us or don't, we don't care, which in the coming decades toppled and raised public figures and a few governments here and there. Ignore us at your own risk, believe us or not, Cassandra Prophecies.
That's great. Thanks, Zilia. Always love hearing you read. Our third writer this evening is a Latina Jewish American poet and writer, Rosebud Ben-Oni. She won the 2019 Alice James Award for If This Is the Age We End Discovery in March 2021. She was also awarded a 2021 City Arts Corps grant and poetry fellowships from the New York Foundation for the Arts in 2014 and from Canto Mundo in 2013. Her two other poetry books are Turn Around Bright Eyes from Get Fresh Books 2019 and Solecism, Virtual Artists Collective 2013. And her poems have been published in journals and magazines such as Poetry, The Kenyon Review, Tin House, Guernica, Frontier Poetry, The Adroit Journal, Prairie Schooner, and Waxwing. Her 20 Atomic Sonnets chapbook that was published online in Black Warrior Review in 2020 is evolving into the Atomic Sonnets, a larger writing project that celebrates the periodic table's 150th birthday. She currently lives in New York City and teaches online poetry workshops for the UCLA Extension Writers Program. Please join me in welcoming Rosebud Ben-Oni.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed the music and the poetry and just coming together in like this really difficult time. So I'm going to read two kind of newish poems. This one came out in poetry in December 2019, and it deals with a world in which we will run out of water. Poet wrestling with surface tension. When the wells dry up, my mother is taken to search for extraterrestrials in the desert. The location, like her real age, is undisclosed. No fake protestors, no high altitude balloon conspiracies, and no reception. The call, in a sense, ends the moment I try to claim the apple never fell at all from either tree. Abba asserts breathe and then warns me my mother doesn't like the word alien. I know this well enough, how my mother knows well enough that deserts are not prophecy or a graveyard song for an animal sanctuary somewhere far off founded on second guessing. Like it ever mattered which side of a fence or warhead to the last rhino left when he's blessed with 2 armed guards to protect him from everything but thirst. Over static I hiss, it's too late to save face. What they must think of you when your best techno signatures are smog, sulfur dioxide, stampedes, and open air stadiums. Is this how you're found amid the darkness? Is it enough? Would you not exist if you lived unseen? While my mother rises and falls into sky, I repeat how humans have changed the destiny of this planet. Abba cries out, breathe. He mistakes this for atonement and fires back how wrong the foundations here, like those in supersymmetry, are stacked. How you built your wells and havens so inaccurately that your ultimate capability is never being proven. Wrong. I won't ask for forgiveness when Abba searches for his place again among you. Was it enough to believe the apple would never rot from a lack of rigor? When did you stop asking for the math? And when the rhino turns into a golden calf, what will tarnish and unearth your base metals? What will you do when your alloys sour and gasp? I hold my breath, I trap his rack. The heart continues to track. Abba falls silent when I switch off every tap and highway, render complete darkness. The last of you continue to gaze up for no reason you will recall. You shiver and open mouths wide for what was precious and pure, and I no longer pretend that I ever breathed any part of it. This future you pulled together the way a single drop of rain relies on surface tension. I won't ask forgiveness when giving away exact coordinates and next destinations. Don't be afraid. On the surface, we aren't unlike one and the same. It's just you are the reason you're already gone, and I'm here to stay. So I'll read one other poem. This one came out again in Poetry Magazine. I wrote it in April of 2020, and then it came out 2 months later in Poetry Magazine, and or is it 3 months? I don't know. They're July 2020, and it sort of delved into the beginning of a very difficult period in which I'm still in, and things kind of fell apart with me and my parents, as well as other avenues of my life. And so I've always been very close with my father, and I wrote this when my relationship with my parents broke down. This is called Poet Wrestling with Blood Falling Silent. You could vanish, and Abba says, yes, time to leave. Rarely now does he can't and dawn to fill in. No temple to dovetail in an emergency. And still both believe the same reveal. Mama cursing the cures that never stick, not unlike magician's wax. It's how a single disease communicates by dissembling the host slowly, gaff and gasp, sawing in half until a debt of miracle snaps or falls flat like cement without pump and casket. It's when you're too close to the actual act of magic, accidental exposure, that the cool flash of covenant shutter. Where are you now, not child? You'll owe the universe everything for this trick that, like a virus, attaches only to wipe you clean. Is this why blood falls silent when it's a matter of you or me? Or why deep space is accelerating further to rely on a sacred scarcity, and love is already a wraith of dark matter separating planets that will have no one anyway, not even dust or the most patient of rain? Father, mother, I'm sorry it took a global crisis to let your love skid and flourish, leaving so little space for a mask of skinned rabbit ghost count of wild cards shed from torn sleeve. Which part gave me away first? The tremors in my hand or the numb and limp in my leaning against the walls you'll restore until dense, until nothing can get in? Was it when I had to confess I could die just like you, high risk, if I went back to the only city I ever loved, but could no longer keep me safe and breathing? It took a moment to look into me without light in your eyes and say, so you want to take us with you? At first I misunderstood, reveling in this, the only pure thing, to be left whole and wilting. It took a little while for the other so calmly to agree. It's time to get out. It's time for you to leave our place. How long did it sleep? How survival instinct outweighs a house of prayer that was never dealt for all of us three, silences in a spun of wool, slip of ram's eye pleading in thicket, wet coal and dry brush amid the wicked. How I am now without past or bond or dream. How the light inside the temple mocks me. Thank you.
Rosebud Ben-Oni, thank you so much. It's a wonderful hearing you. Wonderful hearing everybody tonight. It's really great. Let's go back now to our musical guest this evening, bassist Brandon Lopez. Brandon?
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Whew. Out of sight. That was really fantastic, Brandon. That was really amazing. We were all just trying to figure out what all the instruments were that were happening. Like, it seemed like it was more than a bass, definitely. That was wonderful, really wonderful. We will have a final piece from Brandon at the close of the show. Let us return now to our three readers, and I believe Zilia Balkansky-Sellés is going to start us off on this round. Zilia?
Thank you. I'm putting a timer here. So to justify my appearance at something celebrating this month, Black Beans and White Rice, I wrote it during the April Poetry Month, writing every day, and then revised it recently a lot. Black Beans and White Rice. My mother, Vera, from time to time, would cook a pot of white rice with a sparse sprinkling of black beans in our narrow galley kitchen in the studio apartment in Elmhurst, Queens, New York City, in those strange and lonesome years after the divorce, after leaving her second, my first, Paradise Lost, Mykonos, Greece. For her, Havana, Cuba was first. She would rinse dried black beans, swishing them in the steel pot, drain the water, then fill it again 1.5 inches or 2 above the level of the dried black beans. They would sit overnight, smooth, shining pebbles, softening and swelling, dark presences in the dark galley as we slept, something to tell fortunes by and see the past sleeping at the bottom of a small, clear pond. The narrow kitchen and sanctuary of the 3rd floor studio apartment grew smaller as I grew larger. After soaking, she would cook the beans slowly and long over a low flame. The white rice would cook separately. Later, she would mix them to finish their cooking together. Those black beans, lightly dispersed through well-cooked white rice in the Paul Revere cooking pot with the copper bottom, a remnant from her early years of marriage to my father. Black beans and white rice, contrasted and mixed, slowly cooked over a low flame as the Flushing subway number 7 and an overstreet track rumbled by half a block away. Black beans and white rice, I didn't speak Spanish. She did not speak of Havana or Cuba or not much at all. I recognized some token here to something just out of reach. The distant voice on the phone on occasional Saturdays or Sundays, long distance when it really was long distance. That voice of my grandmother, Marina, Lubin, grandfather, father to Vera, rarely spoke on the phone. That voice far away, unknown, living still in Havana. The black beans and white rice nestled together like a mosaic, planned and planted, one shiny enameled square at a time, thoughtfully constructing a secret message. Vera looking in the pot. Such a simple concoction, a few black beans scattered in the ground of white rice, a strain of her unspoken feelings, deep memories and suppressed longings. I'm speaking. That's the title of this piece. I'm speaking. The neighborhood association president tells my mother, a little while after we moved into the new house on the north edge of Bloomington, Indiana, you don't belong here. I find her with tears in her eyes. I find his number and with great care, thoroughly chew him out on the phone. He crossed the street after that when he saw me walking the dogs, but now he has been gone many years. She is gone, dying in that home we didn't belong in that neighborhood with the big oak tree in our front yard, with the pond and apple tree in the back. The ripple of that violation surfaces a small dot in a bigger matrix when I hear, see, read, a dead black girl in Columbus, a dead brown boy in Chicago, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Michael Brown, Philando Castile, Trayvon Martin. The list is too long, too many names unknown. Random and deliberate rapes and lynchings, removal from homelands, the denigration of the sovereignty of each individual. My father's father was a light-skinned Black man, more beige than brown, in Havana, Cuba, educated, architect, married, longtime mistress, my grandmother. Can you tell? The DNA map shows all my lines to Africa, the West Coast and North, Morocco and Senegal, Ivory Coast. It's a big chunk, but the rolling of genetic dice, and I pass, mostly, sometimes, depending on who's looking. Small trespasses can be held off, brushed off, unrecognized, but they can still fester. We all have history. Everyone traces back to Africa, Olduvai Gorge. There are no strangers here. I'm speaking. No explanation needed. Being poor, being Black, brown, beige, those shades, and male or female or non-binary, female, any color, non-binary, any color, young, very young, old, very old. Dignity is not reserved for a tiny, male, so-called white slice of humanity. Resistance is not futile. I'm speaking. I belong here. You belong here. We all belong. I'm speaking. No explanation needed. Let's see, where are we time-wise? I have a little short one that's going to lead to the last one that I'll do later. 6 seeds. 6 seeds, each a translucent jewel of deepest red, magenta, blood-soaked promise, purple drop from a gray clouded sky. A burst of tart sweetness on the tip of the tongue, not sufficient to assuage thirst or hunger. 6 seeds, carefully picked with a fingertip from the fleshy yellow-white harness of the pomegranate, leathery, speckled, burnished red and faded orange and brown cover, holding the tender seeds in close clasp. 6 seeds, chosen 1 for each month. The faded sunshine dripping juice from the glistening, fleshy drop of fruit. Thank you.
Thank you, Zilia. As someone mentioned in the chat, we're listening. Next, let us have, we'll go back to Rosebud Ben-Oni.
Okay, I'm having a little bit of trouble with my internet, but I think it's okay now. So my mother's family lives on the US-Mexican border, and I thought I'd read this poem, especially considering the theme of this month. And this poem actually happened. For every time I would go home before the pandemic to see my family on the in the Rio Grande Valley, which is again on the border between Texas and Mexico, I would run into the same TSA agent, and because of some of the traveling I've done in the Middle East, he would also just quiz me over and over again. And the last time I saw him, I'm like, I've met you now 4 times. You know who I am. And we still went through the same routines. So this poem is for him. Poet wrestling with her own aloneness in its time of need. She's going the distance. One day soon, there will be no more science fiction. One day, everything we imagine is real, though not everything is. A storm gathering in the middle of nowhere. It just feels like I can't say I don't worry about the state of imagination. I crisscross and wrestle my way toward overwhelmed airplane, and I worry about the states of our imaginations. which to say I'm trying and striving and hugging invisible turns when I worry airport security, who's turning on my laptop and telling me I'm randomly selected for additional screening, which means I worry you, the same TSA agent who's asking yet again what I was doing in the Middle East over a decade ago. You ask as if we've never met, yet know my whole history. I want to believe everything is real after all, and is that the trade-off, the residual cost for understanding what we say is human history? I worry we remember only to use what we can against each other. And I worry greatly what would happen in an airport if I just didn't wait anymore to go off course with a vampire bunny hidden in my carry-on. Yes, a most vampiric and life-munching I'm carrying, even though he's mostly tachons, with fangs of squarks and smuons, all of which decay too quickly in supersymmetry, all of which violate your laws of everything that's allowed to be real. But you'll never find him, my TSA darling, who's still holding me by the arm as if worried who's the one really on the run and who will approach agency. In this small airport on the border where you claim the only flight was canceled due to storms, somewhere beyond control, somewhere a connection I have to make. And I'm tired of waiting for you to give clearance to the eye of my immortal beloved who waits for no one, my little crazed, bloodless fury, with too many sleptons and too much heartsick, churning and burning in the middle of nowhere, with electrolepis caress, with grab-a-rabbit course, how we defy everything you once were in monster bunny force. So that poem and the one I'm going to read next is from my latest book, If This Is the Age We End Discovery, that won the Alice James Award. And it deals with like the collapsing of like frameworks. And it has a lot of like, I guess, science fiction elements. And I studied quantum mechanics, and so there's that as well. And then this next poem is dedicated to Rick and Morty, the show. I'm a huge fan. The science is actually correct in that show, which makes me even a bigger fan. So this poem is called Poet Wrestling with Rick and Morty, but mostly Rick. It's all about the heart, they say, that cross, that shine to compromise. Either you are creator or you die on some pagan holiday. Most everything we get twisted. Most everything is either science or shockwave of endless favor. The asking, the ridiculous heart getting lit on blood that never dries on marked doors of unrequited sin. Who do you think you are? I've wed my own body vermilion, blushing in brickish electric plush these organs, make my spleen a shrine to excess. Who doesn't have time for infinite timelines? Is not your greatest sphere unity? That horse I am eternally breaking. Is that a new dress? Try the heart you left to gray and shiver in crawl space. False heart floating through failing body. Same heart spoiling other hearts sulfuric and weed whack. How they beat beneath the changing of horses. Either love yourself or trust a woman who changes doorposts and signs to unidentified equine. Either are or return to sender. You say the aim of being you is being you, and creation alone is the favor, when all language will always escape and betray its creator. You don't know what you are saying of infinite pain. Please help me. Either horses change to natural disaster, or frozen ground heaves the silence of its ruins. Now it's time to walk. Wipe your face off with pure glycerine and sage. Creation is a spell of double negation. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Sorry, let me get to my notes. And then our final reader for this round is Shana Ritter.
Thank you, everybody. This next group of poems were all written during the first year of the pandemic. Whoever thought we'd be saying the first year of the pandemic. Late April. We remain at home. I walk the field, which is greener than green. Everything slopes ravine to ravine, pond to stream. I gather flowers in the first drops of soft spring drizzle. Bright above the bright grass, yellow field flowers I cannot name, just enough redolent honeysuckle too to carry the scent. Too much becomes cloying instead of reminiscent in this strange season of distance, these longing days. The new puppy pauses to stare at the bee hovering. She cocks her head to study the sound. I wonder if it comes from the neighbors' hives, if the honey harvested will bear this day. The gardens need tending. I pick mint and oregano, one burst of lilac from the small bush that has never grown into itself and yet still yields. I am tired from a bad night's sleep, dreams haunting me into waking, even though everything around me is filled with a deep breath of sleep. The man I share my bed with, the puppy alongside it, the big silence that is not even a sigh in the last of night when the peepers are hushed and the owl is only watching. The common good. I used to believe we shared a common understanding, a kind of trust between us, faith that an oncoming car stays to their side of the road, mutual commitments allowing us to live unscathed side by side, even if the sides are so vastly different, we couldn't imagine sharing a pot of tea across a table covered with a yellow tablecloth on a Wednesday afternoon, and yet we did. Perhaps this has nothing to do with laws and only something to do with kindnesses. Perhaps it is not the rule of law disintegrating, but the very notion of kindness, the belief in it. Though everyone has at one time or another been saved by a kindness, somewhere along the bone of your left forearm, under the skin of your lower leg, at the arch of your right eyebrow, you have pinned the memory of a kindness that still holds you together. The time someone saw you downcast and told you your eyes were beautiful, or offered you their place in line, or turned to thank you for holding the door, or held the door for you when your hands were full. And isn't that all of us stumbling around with our hands full, holding more than we can, hoping, maybe even praying, if that's the way you talk to hope, that someone will open the gate and let you pass through, offer you a chance. Hold your gaze. This next poem is going to be in the Eunoia Review this month, and it's called Daylight Savings Time. The last 2 days, I have risen to light, but for weeks before I stepped out into the barely dawn, the dog's big paws padding beside me as we walked the long gravel drive, circling back to the pond's little shore. The last 2 nights, I have stepped into shadow, though it is still early evening, hours before real dark. The dog and I walk toward the field where the full moon, blue moon, grazes bared trees, the way eyelashes might light on a cheek. As a child, if I found a stray lash, I'd place it on my fingertip to make a wish, close my eyes, draw in my breath, blow. I don't remember the wishes, but recall the way my belief held in that weightless gesture, the way I trust my steps now on the path I can't see, my dog beside me as the world falls past time, as if changing a clock changes anything at all. Thank you.
That's really wonderful, Shana. Thanks so much. We're now going to do our final round, our kind of a lightning round. Each of our poets this evening, each of our readers this evening is going to do a one-off piece. And I'm just going to give you the order, and then they will go in that order. And we'll come back at the end and hear Brandon one last time. So the order will be Rosebud, and then Shana, and then Zilia. So Rosebud Ben-Oni, please start us off.
So I thought I would close out my reading with the last poem in my book, Turn Around Bright Eyes. And its title is taken from something that my ex-girlfriend said to me. She wasn't a woman of many words. She was a model. Well, she's still a model. And we had what I thought was a very tenacious relationship. But she wasn't a poet. And when we finally ended things, the last words that she texted me were, "I guess we'll have to be secretly in love with each other and leave it at that." And I was really moved because I thought she wrote that to me. Years later, I'm watching an old movie. Well, it's not old, but it's not a recent movie called The Royal Tenenbaums. And I find out that Gwyneth Paltrow says that exact line. And I texted her, I was furious. I'm like, well, you're a fraud till the end. Like, you didn't mean this, like you got this from a movie. And she goes, well, why don't you go write a poem about it? So I did. This book is largely about her. And so this is, I guess we'll have to be secretly in love with each other and leave it at that. To can't do, to overly over you, to te amo, wrong name, to songs of wronged I think we, and planting boxwood and snowdrop for not our winter children, nor sweet box or winter berry, to FaceTiming winter silence for hours, to know Camilla's and Christmas rose touching through a screen and still not sorry about some horse I knew in Iceland for less than a week, and some other life lurking on black sand shores, to my life, to yours, to sulking under half-sunken moons and oh, the places we won't go, to not Airbnb haciendas of airy rooms, and canopy beds engraved with lions rose-tailed and rose-maned, to drug restaurants that serve only cobra lilies with a side of blackbirds who wield spiked hammers, a kind of punishment for that horse I still long for, to splinters and spitting the names I'll never curse you in kitchen inferno, when burning certain animals without remorse, to your most exquisite stews and fermented cabbage jars I won't break, rushing to catch a broken down train, to that first trail we missed, to falling off an eroded hoof print, to the city you saved by sticking a scorched trainer and sliding door in. What's so wrong with hell anyway? To happiness as a betrayal of what is happening to people we love, and to people not just waiting around to die. To love as resistance, but not always the way back. To I can't I? To you crashing into the bathroom and fishing me out of the sink and carrying me in your arms, like that scene in The Bodyguard. Only the song I sing has no queen, has no eyes or dreams. There is only dim and dog-eared coddish. To forgiving me for all the plums I'd most certainly devour. To the platypus and Fisher King. To breaking in case of emergency. To reading Adonis in a crowded bar while television signal flare amid a canopy of crows. To having hope in our pop-up wit of the world, its edges sour and peeling. To never really having left Jerusalem. which is why I'm still busted stars and throwing elbows. To the hours we made horses between nightfall and war, to should go home, to leaving it the longest way, a derailed horse cry and amaranthine bones. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosebud. That was beautiful. This last piece I'm going to read is actually coming from In the Time of Leaving, which is the novel I wrote about exile and resilience that's set during the Inquisition and subsequent diaspora in late 15th century Spain. The novel actually started as a poem, and some of the fragments of poems made their way in to the novel. So I'm just going to read a little bit. The narrow streets let the winds pass through. The stones remain. The stones always remain. They hold the mark of hands that touch the walls a last time, indentations of memory, footsteps heading away, echoes gone, only the wind in the streets that were once full of people calling out to each other, only the wind remains calling. What you leave when you leave is not a place but a life, a way of being in the world. What changes is what always changes. One century laments the last. The escape traded for home, home traded for wandering, one kind of safety traded for another, one set of questions traded for another, answers waiting. We are tied to each other by our stories and our deeds. Our community is a raft, all of us bound together by the cords of our beliefs. Our history is like waves, like currents, like tides. Even when forced by the undertows of necessity along the ropes of time, we have moved from place to place, guided by the pull of the moon, our way lit by our shared words. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to read tonight.
Thank you, Shana. Oh my gosh. And the last piece is Persephone, of which there's a bunch of versions, and one I gave to Joan Hawkins at one point. This is the one I cleaned up a little again. Persephone. Hades was a suitable husband, we could argue, even though his courtship and rape of Persephone was questionable. Ruler of 1/3 of the universe, brother to Zeus, lord of the underworld, ruler truly of any mortal for longer than Zeus high above. A heart-struck bargain compels Persephone's return each year, and Demeter's sorrow to be assuaged with the months of fruitful return, each departure withering the earth while her daughter is away, the fallow sorrow of separation and loss undergirding each new spring. And now, as Australia burns and ice sheets fall island sides into warming seas, as hungry developers ward off their fear of death by ravaging the earth for the false security of wealth, strip mining mountains, pouring sludge into toxic rivers, and carving through charred landscapes where clear streams once birthed tadpoles and generations of minnows, flowing clean drinking water for humans and the myriad otters, raccoons, bears, crows, visiting for sips and swims as oceans fill with plastic, driven by the fear of what is finite. Persephone waits for her release from the underworld in a longer winter of despair as the frightened avoiders and insurgents of death and ravaging wealth decimate the earth. Let Persephone return. Let her mother rejoice. Demeter urging the earth to bloom, to restore to wholeness, to awaken new life. Let Persephone return, while the fearful scavengers and disruptors make their peace and quit their frantic avoidances, celebrating both Demeter and Hades, the fruitful return and the inevitability of death that girds all new life. Thank you.
And thank you all. It's a fantastic reading. What a wonderful collection of writers. You're all just amazing, very unique and varied. Loved hearing everything. A mix of poetry and prose too. Really fantastic. Let's have a final piece from our guest musician, Brandon Lopez, and then I will come back with a few parting words. Brandon? Sure, I'll applaud for that. Thank you. That was great, Brandon. So I think that does it for our October edition of the Writers Guild Spoken Word Series. I want to thank our 3 readers for a fantastic evening celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month. Shana Ritter, Zilia Balkansky-Sellés, and Rosebud Ben-Oni, and our musician taking us on sonic adventures tonight, Brandon Lopez. Just a fantastic performances all around from everyone. Thank you so much. We hope you'll join us next month. That's Wednesday, November 3rd, where we will have our 3 Riser Award winners from this year, Juliana Crespo, Han Tambui, and Maggie Goswan, with music by local singer-songwriter Sarah Cassidy. And again, that is Wednesday, right here on Zoom at 6 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday, November 3rd. We're going to close out here, and I'm going to stop the Zoom. Those of you on the Zoom with us, feel free to hang out for a bit after we close out. Thank you all for joining us. Again, my name is Tony Brewer, and along with Joan Hawkins and Kyle Quast behind the scenes, we are co-producers of this here Writers Guild Spoken Word series. Thank you all for joining us, and good night.
It was such a wonderful evening. Thank you.